Hello YouTube, this is going to be part one of my turbo swap. The truck is a 2003 Dodge 2500 with the Cummins. I'm going to remove the stock turbo, which I believe is an HE351, a little on the small side, not highly desirable. And what I'm going to end up swapping it over to, show you down here in my cart. This is HE351VE. That's a variable vane turbo with exhaust brake, all that stuff, electronically controlled. So, have all my parts and pieces, I believe. See how far we can take it today, and go from there. And so I got my turbo ready. There's the exhaust elbow that your downpipe connects to. There's all my wiring harness and everything I need. I have to use the standalone controller for the turbo now, and I'll go into that in detail further later. And then here is the new exhaust manifold. So this is off a 6.7 liter Cummins, and slightly different than the one I have. Already got it painted, sandblasted and painted with VHT heat paint, just to kind of dress it up a little bit. So first things first, remove all the air cleaner, intake tube, get all that out of the way. Since this new turbo is liquid cooled, I'll go ahead and drain the coolant out, because I'll have to get some ports out of the side of the block and my heater core hoses to tie into for my water flow through the turbo. So we'll get some coolant drained out, get the air cleaner taken off. We'll pull off the passenger side plastic inner fender well, get that out of the way, and just kind of get the basics out of the way right now, and kind of get us ready to start swapping everything out. Alright, so here's where we're at. Got the intake or exhaust manifold off, turbo out. Got all the associated stuff with it. I pulled out my air box. It takes up this real estate right here. And I got my boost tube out from the turbo to the intercooler, and gives you quite a bit of room to work around in here. Came out alright. As much room as there is in here, it's still kind of tight. The biggest problem I had was there's a heater hose line. It's kind of hard to tell. It's right below the alternator, and it's a little black steel tube that comes up, runs underneath basically the exhaust ports right there. And my truck was originally an automatic, and there's that. I don't know if you can see it. That tube right there, that actually goes over to your heat exchanger on the driver's side of the engine. So that tube was kind of in the way because it attaches to the stud, one of the exhaust manifold bolts. So that was kind of, took some wrestling around to get out. But other than that, not too bad. About an hour or so job to disconnect everything. And I left the turbo connected to the exhaust manifold. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that again with the new turbo. As you can see, here's the old one right here. The new one's quite a bit larger, so I don't know, I'll have to figure that out. So far so good. We'll continue on. I'll get those exhaust ports all cleaned up, scrape off the old gasket and any carbon residue and soot, and clean up some oil and stuff, get everything ready to go, and start bolting everything together. Alright, so here's one of the first things. After I clean the exhaust ports, I just got my gasket scraper, and then took some emery cloth or a Scotch-Brite pad, got all those. Alright, so here's one thing. This black pipe you see, that goes down, man, it's kind of hard to see. There's a little 90-degree port right there, and this feeds one of the coolant lines that feeds your heater core. And comes up to here, and that's one of your heater core rubber lines. Okay, so here's where it changes. Let me get a flashlight. This black tube down here, I went to the local Dodge dealer and had him pull up a 2008 6.7 liter Cummins, and got the exploded view and all the part numbers, and I found this tube, and this tube's different. The factory one, this is the original tube right here, and it came to a silicone little rubber hose, probably about 2-3 inches long, and then the factory one continued straight across, and like I said, it fed that little nipple in the back, and that's for your heat exchanger for an automatic transmission. Well, what this new one does, I believe I ordered it for a manual trans truck, and so it connects to a factory hole in the side of the block, reroutes it up, still connects to your heater hose, but that little threaded connector right there, that's what I needed to tap off for the feed line to my turbo. So I'm going to steal water from there, and I have the factory braided line, got that at the Dodge dealer also, and that'll feed water to the top of my turbo once it's installed. So I thought I was going to have to cut and weld and modify all this stuff, but ended up working out pretty good. My dumb shit luck, I ended up having a piece of heater hose that had a pre-bent, it's not a 90, it's a little bit wider than a 90, and so all I'll do is put 2 hose clamps on it, and I can connect it to my factory location. And right down here there's another, can't really see, there's a factory bolt right there, so that's where this one originally connected to. Have my new hose on here, and then I'll connect to the new line, and that'll come right up to my factory heater hose right there, and look like a factory install on this. So that was one of the problems, and that should be alright. There's I don't know if you can see, there's a little bracket that comes off right there. Once my exhaust manifold gets back on, that'll bolt down to one of the bolts that tighten up to the exhaust manifold, so that'll keep it in place so it's not all wiggly. And alright, so there's that. Alright, so here's where we're at. After I got the water line in, hose clamped down, I focused on changing out my drain back tube for the turbo. This one's actually you see a flexible metal line instead of the other one. The other one had a part that snapped into the block, and then a little piece of rubber hose, and then pretty much the same mounting flange. This one just moves it over in a little different location. So got that on, and then down here, let's see, that guy right there, there's a factory, there it is, there's a factory plug, there's one right there, and then there's this one right over here, and that goes into your water jacket in the block. So pop that plug out, and this is another factory Dodge part. There's a little threaded nipple that screws into the side of the block, and then that lets you put this new braided line on. That'll be I guess the return back to the block. And all these are little banjo fittings. So pop that plug out, put the new nipple in. There's 2 washers. They have little rubber O-rings built into them, and then your banjo fitting. And so this will be the bottom one. So I just have it laying down here on the frame rail right now. And so we got that. I think I can get the top one after the turbo's installed. I'm just trying to get all this bottom stuff done, because it'll get pretty tight once I get the exhaust manifold on and the turbo in place. So all that's done. I think we're ready to try to get the exhaust manifold in place and tightened up, and see if we can get this turbo hanging. Alright, so we got the exhaust manifold on. All the bolts are tight. Got all new gaskets from Dodge, and reuse the same fasteners. Don't forget, if you got a EGT probe before you put the exhaust manifold on, go ahead and drill and tap it. Mine was an 1/8 inch pipe thread, so a lot easier to do on the workbench than trying to wedge it into here in the engine compartment. And then I don't know if you can see back there, the newer 677 EGR. So this is your EGR back here. So I just made a flat plate, and that'll cap it off. And then some of them had a hole up here too. This manifold I got on eBay. I don't know what exact year it's off of, but the front one's already blocked off. So anyway, so that's that. And got all my lines in. I showed you the water line before. Got the drain tube in. We're pretty much ready for the turbo. There's this little fitting down here too. I didn't have to change it, but I did anyway. That's your oil feed fitting, and that's where your filter head is for your oil filter. I could have probably just changed the O-ring on it and been fine, but I went ahead and bought a new one and a new oil feed line. I don't know if the two are the same. I haven't matched them up yet. So, alright. Next step is mount the turbo. Alright, so we got the turbo mounted. I muscled it in by myself, but if you had an extra set of hands, it would make life a lot easier. So anyway, got the turbo in, got all the lines hooked up, oil feed line, and the water lines. So I was ready to pat myself on the back for drilling and tapping for the EGT probe, and unfortunately I mounted it just a hair too low because it hits my water line. So now I need to move it up a little bit, probably up right above it. Down here gets in the way, so that kind of sucks, but you know, there's no really instruction manual on this, so just kind of going by the seat of my pants. So the top was fairly easy. The oil feed line and the water line. This turbo's a lot bigger than the stock one I pulled off, and it's pretty tight underneath of it. So it gets pretty close to the shock tower and the frame rail. So hooking up the new oil drain tube and the lower water line, pretty tight, but it's not all that bad. Throw a couple cuss words at it and you'll get right through it. Alright, so that's that. Now what we're gonna do is we'll hook the boost tube back up to the intercooler, and hopefully that's in the same spot. That's one of the things I was worried about. I know it's kind of in a different location, so we'll see if that works, and then also my air cleaner and the tube for that. Those are the two items that we'll figure out together if it's going to work or not. If not, I'll have to figure something out.